For a full 35 years, the ZR1 badge has been decorating the most capable Corvette, and during all that time, we've been seeing the Corvette getting closer to European supercars, performance-wise. Well, that chapter has just ended, because Chevy engineers decided to turn the page and turn the C8 ZR1 into a monster. 1,064 horsepower is plenty enough to leave most supercars in the dust, but the new model is actually much more than that, a genuine racetrack machine. Let's take a close look at the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1, a 1,064 horsepower American monster. But first, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and make sure to check out our other videos as well. It's turbo time! Although cars that are designed for a track are much about chassis tuning, suspension geometry, brakes, and things like that, we like to start with the all-new heart the new ZR1 gets. GM decided to bring out a few more first-ever things with this generation. After the first-ever Corvette with a mid-engine, this generation also happens to be the first ever to feature a turbo engine. In the early days, ZR1 models were naturally aspirated in typical American fashion. Then, the C6 and C7 generations brought a supercharged engine and substantial improvement in performance. It was time for another big step, to finally introduce a turbocharging technology to America's most iconic sports car of all time. And for that occasion, Chevy built a new engine, codenamed LT7. Yes, it has a lot in common with the LT6, the good old small block naturally aspirated V8. But it also comes with significant upgrades, starting from new combustion chambers, new cylinder heads, modified ignition and air intake systems, stronger connecting rods, and many more. Still, the star of the show, of course, is a twin-turbo setup producing a total boost of 20 psi. All in all, we're talking about the upgrades that ensure such a significant power increase over the predecessor that we're now talking about the first ever Corvette with more than 1,000 horsepower. More precisely, the max output is rated at 1,064 horsepower, while the max torque goes up to 828 pound-feet of torque and is available already at 3,000 RPM, while this latest piece of tech revs all the way up to 8,000 revolutions per minute. Of course, such a massive power upgrade required revisions on the transmission, so the familiar 8-speed dual-clutch unit also comes with a couple of tweaks. Wider gears, stronger input and output shafts, and improved oiling systems are just some of the things that come to mind. And while gear ratios have remained the same, it's also worth mentioning that Chevy engineers limited the torque in the first two gears to preserve and prolong the fast gear-changing unit. All those racetrack upgrades. Of course, it would be foolish to expect nothing more than engine upgrades. The days when Corvettes were just sports cars with big muscle car roots are long gone. Modern Corvettes are genuine supercars, while this one can legally be considered a hypercar. And it's not just about the raw power, there's much more going on. If you look at the new C8 ZR1 from the outside, one of the first things you'll notice is that the hood, if we can call it that considering it's essentially a front cover, looks kind of different. It comes with a flow-through design, which brings not one but two kinds of benefits. The first one is about downforce, while the second one is about the fresh air that goes through a heat exchanger. It's one of many cooling tricks this Corvette has. For example, there are new air intakes on the sides, which cool rear brakes, while a couple of openings can be found on the rear hatch as well to provide enough fresh air for the engine. Of course, we must say a few words about the chassis and suspension as well, and probably the best way to start this section is to mention that 4th generation magnetic ride dampers are part of the standard equipment, just like 20 and 21-inch alloy wheels wrapped with Pilot Sport 4S rubber. For those looking to save even more weight, carbon rims are available too. Speaking of carbon fiber mass reduction tricks, a roof made of such material is available too, and besides less weight, such a version is also claimed to feature a slightly lower center of gravity. Also, for the ultimate racetrack performance, the company offers the ZTK package with stiffer suspension and Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, as well as a couple of additional upgrades. Front dive planes and underbody strakes are there for even better downforce, just like the massive rear wing and a hood lip bar. Altogether, they provide up to 1,200 pounds of downforce, according to the manufacturer. Then there are the brakes, a completely new combo of front 15.7 and rear 15.4-inch carbon ceramic rotors, designed not just to provide excellent stopping power, but also to mitigate heat better and last longer. Numbers, please. So, 1,064 horsepower and 828 pound-feet of torque. What does that look like in practice? Well, the officials still haven't come up with the 0 to 60 figure, but on the other hand, they claim the top speed will go over 215 miles per hour, while the quarter mile will go under 9.7 seconds. Those are some pretty crazy numbers when compared to the previous generation ZR1, but the real value of the new design will be shown on the track. We have no doubt that the new ZR1 won't disappoint. Moreover, we expect some really big things to happen, considering that last year's Z06 already surprised pretty much everyone with its lap times, being ahead of some way more exotic and therefore more expensive beasts, including some prominent McLaren and Porsche 911 variants. Interior design. As for the interior design, the new ZR1 is unmistakably a C8. All the design solutions are there pretty much unchanged, starting from the same driver-focused layout and a massive center console that separates the driver and the passenger. That center console may not be executed in the best possible way, but we definitely like the fact there's still a solid amount of physical controls, which make everything easier in this over-digitalized world. But it's impossible to escape from the spirit of modern times, so the ZR1 also features a couple of screens, starting from the 12-inch digital instrument cluster and an 8-inch infotainment screen that actually feels quite refreshing when compared to oversized units we're usually seeing these days. As mentioned, the frunk has been sacrificed for the sake of downforce and additional cooling, but on the other hand, the rear cargo area remains the same, decently sized if we consider the mid-engine layout. Of course, such a special version deserves a couple of unique features and design solutions, starting from numerous ZR1 badges around the cabin, while buyers can also opt for the habanero color scheme, blue stitching, and a few more unique details. Oh, and while we're also talking about special details, let's not forget those cool heat extractors that come with the coupe version, a modern take on the split window that pays homage to the iconic design seen in the second-generation Corvette for the first time. Of course, besides the coupe, the new ZR1 will also be offered in a convertible variant. Unveiled, but still not ready. So, the all-new revolutionary ZR1 has been presented, but that doesn't mean that the launch is around the corner. No, it'll take a full year before we see the first deliveries, considering that the officials already announced a launch date for the middle of 2025. So, what's behind such an early presentation? Some like to believe that this is all about drawing attention to the new 1,064 horsepower twin-turbo engine, but it's actually about the fact that the Corvette needed to be unveiled to complete testing. According to the officials, this Corvette is about finesse like anything we've seen from the American automotive industry, so the company needs a few more rounds of tests of aerodynamics to sort out every detail regarding aero balance, heat exchangers, cooling systems, etc. To do that, the test mule needs to be free of any cover cladding over the car. That's pretty much the key reason for such an early unveiling. Anyway, we know when the new 2025 Chevy Corvette ZR1 is coming, but there's still no word about the price. At the moment, it's hard to make even a relatively precise prediction, considering all the upgrades over the previous ZR1, not to mention inflation and the ongoing trend of out-of-control price jumps. Some sources suggest $150,000 and others speculate about $180,000, but one way or another, the ZR1 will once again be a high-performance bargain when compared to similarly capable supercars from Europe. What do you think of the all-new 2025 Chevy Corvette ZR1? Is this enough performance to put it in the hypercar category? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.